On Friday, January 26th, Luka Doncic led the Dallas Mavericks to a 148-143 victory over the Atlanta Hawks. His shorthanded team needed all 73 of the points that he provided, becoming tied for the fourth highest scoring performance in NBA history. I'm going to take a close look at how he managed to pull off this performance, and let's get right into it. Early in this game, the Mavericks utilized zoom action handoffs on a couple of plays, and the goal was to put Trae Young's man into the action on this first play, which is Josh Green. He sets the pin down screen for Luka before he gets into the handoff with Derek Lively, and this tests the defense. Young does not switch. Jalen Johnson goes under to stay attached to Luka. And then after the handoff, Lively gets into a rescreen, forcing Jalen Johnson to go over the screen. Luka hostage dribbles into the gap, pins Johnson on the back, and then Lively, knowing that Clint Capella is going to be focused on dropping and protecting the paint, goes to set a Gortat screen to seal him off, and then Luka gets a wide open finish on the right side of the rim. With Kyrie Irving sidelined for this game, this was one of the mechanisms the Mavericks used to get Luka touches off ball without having to initiate the offense and do a lot of the breaking down of the defense at the point of attack. This zoom action handoff is a bit different this time, considering they're getting out of a delay set, and Luka receives the pin down from Derrick Jones Jr. with DeJounte Murray as his man. Jalen Johnson fights over this time and is a little slow to get over the screen. Luka, as he gains possession of the ball, has a lot of space to work with. Johnson is trailing significantly, so he just attacks downhill with Clint Capella dropping and gets as deep as possible to be able to just get into a short-range floater. And with a foot in the paint, launching off the right foot, Luka, using his slow step approach, is able to throw off the timing of the on-ball defender and the big defender. Johnson assumes that Capella is going to be able to handle this, and with Luka in his timing, he throws off Capella. He tries to pressure, but is already on his way down before Luka even releases the ball. And with great touch, Luka banks it in. And this is just another testament to how difficult it is to handle Luka deep on drives with how he's able to throw off the defense's timing. Luka grabs the defensive rebound and wastes no time getting into a high pick and roll with Derek Lively. And he sets up Jalen Johnson with some crafty handles here. He goes behind the back and then uses a in and out cross. And Johnson is now trailing after Luka's coming off of the screen. Capella's in a drop. And with Jalen looking to recover, Luka understands that he's going to have an advantage if he gets into a step back near the nail, knowing that Johnson's going to try to cut him off. And that's exactly what happens. Luka has lots of space when he's getting into the shot, has a clean release, and knocks it down with the fade. This type of play is a big reason why teams typically don't like to let Luka play without doubling to get the ball out of his hands. His creativity in open space when his shot is falling on these tough off-the-dribble shot sequences just makes him impossible to guard. This play looks like Luka tried to catch the defense off guard by keeping it on a handoff with Derrick Jones Jr. and then throwing it to Josh Green on the weak side, who only had Trae Young in front of him to account for. Green didn't look to attack, got it back to Derek Lively, and this essentially became a get action where Luka makes himself available for the pass, and they get into a ball screen as the shot clock's winding down, and Atlanta switched it this time instead of Capella dropping, with it being further behind the three-point line, and Capella just tries to contest this tightly. Luka has to take a tough shot and misses the initial shot, but the Mavericks come up with the offensive rebound, and Luka gets the ball, gets back out to the corner, and he has a window to attack here, and he takes a tough floater that's pressured by Capella again, and this is offline. This is one of the rare sequences where Luka came up empty. After the Mavericks come up with the defensive rebound, Luka gets the outlet pass and makes an incredible throw-ahead pass to Josh Green, who used his explosiveness to get behind the defense. Luka hits him perfectly in stride, and on the catch, he just gets right into a dunk. This time, it's Luka who's the one on the receiving end of a throw-ahead pass by Tim Hardaway Jr. Trae Young is the furthest defender back, and just a major size advantage for Luka to be able to protect the ball and finish with his left hand, and Young doesn't have any impact on the play. The Mavericks once again targeted Trae Young by making his man screen for Luka Doncic to put him into the action, knowing that he's not going to switch. Young holds until the on-ball defender, Saddiq Bey, can recover back to Luka and then guard him in space. And Luka counters his momentum, knowing that this was going to happen, by working his way back left with a between-the-legs dribble into a step-back three, and has a lot of space to work with on the shot and knocks it down. Knowing that a particular defensive player is not going to look to switch creates a lot of advantages for Luka to be able to play off of. One of the many problems the Hawks encountered throughout this game was the consistent presence of a small guard on the court. This time, despite Trae Young being off the floor, it's now Patty Mills, and the Mavericks get into a zoom action with his man setting the initial off-ball screen being Dante Exum. And with Grant Williams at the 5, he gives the handoff to Luka, who comes off of the handoff looking to break down Onyeka Okongwu, the switching center option that the Hawks tend to trust to make these switches. And Luka breaks him down off the dribble after working him a little bit left, and then goes between the legs, attacking through his chest with contact. And with Okongwu looking to recover, Luka's already beat him and gets into a slow step finish, but does it while he's already ahead of Okongwu, which seals the advantage. He's already leaving his feet, launching to pressure as before Luka even gets into the finish attempt. And on his way down, when Okongwu's out of the picture, Luka finishes with his right hand and banks it in. With Dante Exum initiating this possession, Luka sets a screen for him in a rare pick-and-pop play with Patty Mills not looking to switch. Luka has space on the catch and just gets right into the shot and knocks it down. While Luka has taken more catch-and-shoot shots this season, this was a great sign of him being in an early rhythm. Luka Doncic receives the handoff. Okongwu looks like he's going to make the switch initially, but is just holding until Jalen Johnson can recover to guard Luka, and drops back to handle Grant Williams in the dunker spot after Trae Young tagged him. And Trae Young is able to be protected in this entire sequence by just staying in the corner, essentially. But that doesn't stop the Hawks from getting shredded. Luka is able to counter Jalen Johnson's momentum with a right-to-left crossover as he's getting into a stance. And the threat of the potential step-back 3, after earlier in the game that being a problem with the step-back, Johnson is playing that and is beat with Luka getting into the between the legs dribble. And then now with a stunt attempt, Luka kills his dribble by putting the ball high and gets into a stride stop. Johnson falls for this and completely flies by Luka, and he has so much space after this turnaround that instead of taking the jumper, he uses a fake and is able to just step through into a left-hand finish with no help even trying to pressure him, and he gets it to fall. The Hawks made an admirable attempt to protect Trae Young out of this action, but the rest of the defenders just did not end up holding their own. Once again, with Luka being able to attack a defender trying to recover and getting into a stance, he creates an advantage and makes a play. Exum pushes the pace, and then the Mavs get into a Miami action, a handoff followed by a ball screen. Grant Williams makes that handoff, then Exum sets that screen, which forces Trae Young into the action. And this was actually a pretty solid job by Atlanta's defense. Young kind of forces Luka to get into that spin move and slows him up on the attack instead of allowing him to turn the corner. And that allows Jalen Johnson to recover, cut off the drive, and then Luka takes a tough one-legged shot and isn't able to get it to go. Another quality defensive play from Atlanta. Doncic gets the ball in a zoom action. Onyeka Okongwu backpedals, protects the paint, and Jalen Johnson becomes a factor in the play again, keeps active hands, and bats the ball up when Luka tries to make that pass to the weak side corner. The Mavericks once again play out of a zoom action with Trae Young's man setting that off-ball screen, the pin down before Luka ends up getting the handoff from Richaun Holmes. And Holmes, who dives to the rim on the slip, gets brought back up for another screen. And this was interesting. Jalen Johnson unders this screen, which results in Holmes rescreening. And Okongwu's at the nail. And Luka, as he probes, reads this and gets right into a retreat dribble, step back, hits the 3 with Okongwu being late to be able to really pressure the shot. This was one of the easiest looks that Luka had all night. It was really perplexing decision to see an on-ball defender under him, especially with the rhythm he had early on. Luka's supposed to get the ball out of a wide action here, but Jaden Hardy's pass is so bad that he has to try to track it near half court and then gets a ball screen from Richaun Holmes. The Hawks blitz and then force the turnover. After forcing a miss against Trae Young on a isolation defensive possession, Luka brings the ball up and immediately breaks down Jalen Johnson going between the legs, behind the back, and attacks the middle of the floor, but there's nail help waiting there with Bogdanovic being that defender. Luka takes a dribble, is patient, waits for Bogdanovic to clear out just enough to be able to make a move going towards the paint. But Luka does a savvy job of keeping that left foot planted and sweeps the ball high. Johnson's expecting a drive as he's tracking Luka, and this creates separation for Luka to get into that shot on a fade at the nail. This is just one of the many plays in this game where a defender was unable to contain one of the world's best talents out in space, and he made a tough shot. After the defensive rebound, Luka pushes the pace and then receives a Gortat screen from Richaun Holmes to seal off the big, and he has a wide-open left-hand layup. The Hawks blitz Luka on this play. He gives the ball up to the short roller, who's Richaun Holmes, and he attacks the rim and finishes for a layup. Richaun Holmes comes to set a step-up screen for Luka early in this possession, but instead of using it, he gets creative with a rejection going between the legs into a spin move immediately. And then with the empty corner, he's got a lot of room to attack. He is patient, waits for Onyeka Okongwu to recover back to Holmes in the paint, and understands that he's going to be able to get into a step back along the baseline, uses a shot fake to test the defender, and then gets right into the shot without a hand getting up on that fake, and then ends up knocking this one down. Notice the time and score of this game. Midway through the second quarter, the Hawks were up by 4. Luka took matters into his own hands, getting creative in space, getting downhill, and making a tough shot. With Richaun Holmes slipping the high ball screen on this play, Luka is playing out of a hesitation dribble, reads that Bogdanovic is giving him a cushion of space, trying to play that drive, and Luka gets quickly into that step-back 3 with his left foot already planted. He just gets into the shot, knocks it down without Bogdanovic able to alter the shot with the contest. Luka takes a heat check pull-up 3 using this quick ball screen, and the shot is offline. Luka pushes the pace on the break on this play. Derek Lively does a great job of running the floor hard. Clint Capella gets frozen with Luka killing his dribble and staring down Grant Williams on the weak side wing before throwing the no-look pass to Lively, who's completely wide open as he gets to the paint with a non-imposing low defender like Trae Young. Here, Luka has his back to the defender, makes himself available for the quick pass, and plays out of the face-up. Attacks going to his right. Jalen Johnson tries to track him sliding laterally, but Luka looks to turn the corner, go downhill, and draws the foul to get to the free throw line. With Capella playing up, Luka rejects the double drag screens, gets straight downhill, and Capella's unable to recover as Luka launches off 2 for a left-hand finish. Trae Young is brought into the action with Derek Jones, his man, screening for Luka. Luka gets straight into a step-back 3, but the shot is off. This was a really interesting play. Luka ends up calling up Derek Lively for a ball screen, draws Clint Capella on a switch, and has the left open to be able to attack downhill, takes advantage of it. But he kills this dribble with the strong side help, rotating over to deter him from being able to get all the way to the rim. So with Clint Capella recovering deep on the drive, Luka just tosses it out to the corner, gets it back on a get action, and immediately rises into the shot and knocks it down. On this play, Luka inbounds the ball and gets it back on a zoom action with Derek Jones Jr. being guarded by Trae Young, setting that off-ball screen before Lively gives it up to Luka. Clint Capella, the big defender, is up to touch here, and he switches this, and this is a very tough position for the defense to be in because Lively slips, and now Saddiq Bey has to do a lot. He has to be able to recover and be a factor before Luka can get the ball to Lively on the roll, and with Luka glancing over to the weak side wing, that creates enough hesitation with Trae Young being a complete non-factor in really much of any off-ball role in a ball screen coverage. And Luka just darts the ball with 2 hands over the top to Lively, who uses that quick 2-foot leaping ability to dunk it on a reverse. Another part of this play to appreciate is the flare screen from Dante Exum. This leverages Tim Hardaway Jr.'s shooting gravity and neutralizes the low defender. The Mavericks continued to hunt Trae Young and really took advantage of the Hawks reverting to a continued switching approach. Clint Capella switching this first ball screen puts him in a position to have to guard Luka in space, and with that back screen, Capella, being a center, is not going to be able to fight over this screen, and now Trae Young is having to account for Luka Doncic getting downhill without anyone in position to help him, which results in a left-hand layup for Doncic. This was just another example of the Mavericks winning the in-game chess match by forcing Trae Young into compromising positions. Late in the second quarter, the Hawks are up by 2. They look to switch this ball screen. Clint Capella is now guarding Luka. They send Trae Young on a late double, and Young reaches and fouls Luka and sends him to the free throw line. With Jalen Johnson finishing, Luka pushes the pace on the inbounds pass. Clint Capella tries to stop the ball. Luka just gets straight into a step-back three after working him over to the left wing and hits the shot. With the Hawks trying to hedge and recover with Trae Young's man setting a ball screen for Luka, Luka just throws the bounce pass for Grant Williams on that short roll, who then gets into a floater and the ball rolls in. Dante Exum does a great job of pushing the pace once again and then finds Luka on the trail. He's able to get by the point of attack defender Trae Young. For whatever reason, it looked like Clint Capella initially was thinking about taking a charge and then thought about trying to pressure with verticality, and this just results in a foul call. Luka sees an opportunity to attack hard right in transition. No screen involved, just explodes downhill, plays through the initial contact, and makes a really tough angled floater with his right hand, banks it off the glass, and doesn't get the call. Luka brings Patty Mills into the screening action by having Jaden Hardy set a ball screen. The Hawks hedge and recover. Luka reads it, knows he's going to have a window of opportunity to get into a pull-up three, takes it, and makes it. Just another example of Luka taking advantage of a team trying to protect a small guard in a screening action. This is a great example of just how difficult it is to contain Luka Doncic out on an island in isolation. After a ball screen, Lively slips, and now it's ISO time for Luka against Saddiq Bey. He sizes him up, going between the legs initially, and then plays out of a hesitation dribble. And with the threat of Luka going to his left on a step back, the defender has to really respect that, and this sets up the ability for Luka to go aggressively between the legs, attack downhill going towards his right. And then now, in this situation, Saddiq Bey's trying to recover, has an arm on Luka's side, and that enables Luka to be able to just throw the ball at the rim with the benefit of the foul call to get to the free throw line. A theme throughout this game was just the inability for the Hawks isolation defenders to be able to account for Luka's step back while also being able to slide laterally to contain dribble penetration. Luka brings the ball up the floor and immediately gets into a ball screen with Trae Young's man setting the screen, and the Hawks try to hedge and recover. And Luka understands that if he holds it, he's going to be able to attack a defender on the trail trying to recover. And with an empty corner, he has a lot of space to work with, but the Hawks do show help, and he ends up retreat dribbling, getting a little bit of separation here. But this angle is really tough, but that doesn't matter with the type of heater that Luka was on in this game. He still lines it up, releases the ball, and is perfectly on line and manages to go through. He's taking this shot from behind the backboard, and he's turning, fading, doesn't matter. He is able to hit it at a really tough angle. You don't really see Luka taking these types of pull-ups along the baseline, but he managed to continue the heater that he was on, get a timely bucket for the Mavs. Luka takes the really deep pull-up three on this one, and this is just a plain heat check. Luka brings Trae Young's man into the action, Jaden Hardy to set a screen, and knowing that he's going to try to make that initial hedge, Luka splits and uses the crossover, gets downhill, and then now it's up to the help defense to make a play, and he just plays through contact, gets to the free throw line by drawing the foul. With Luka getting the left side of the floor early in this possession, the Hawks are showing help, pre-rotating an early low man. Looks like Luka's trying to force the ball to the dunker spot, Richaun Holmes, with a potential opening, but the Hawks make this read very quickly and make a play in the passing lanes and force a turnover. This is a great example of just how much of a heater Luka was on at this point. He gets the ball after a missed shot. He gets picked up by a defender early in this play, goes between the legs to set up the attack going to his left, gets into a step back, and is tightly contested, fades, and then knocks down the three. Luka continued his masterclass of scoring without a screen. He brings the ball up, is picked up by Jalen Johnson, sizes him up playing out of the between the legs dribble, and the left side is just completely open after this, and he explodes downhill as a result, plays through the chest contact, and here Luka gets into a slow step, wrong foot finish, completely throws off the timing of Johnson on the recovery, and is able to have a clean look. It's tough, but it's a clean one, banking it in on the way down with the right-hand floater and gets it to go. Josh Green goes to set an off-ball screen for Luka Doncic early in this possession. The Hawks switch it, and then they top-block Luka, deny that pass, And then they have to work the ball to Green on the wing to then try to get an entry pass to Luka with his back to the defender. And the Hawks did a great job. They send two at him after he makes the catch, trying to play out a triple threat in the corner, takes a tough shot, and it's a miss. With Luka pushing the pace, he has an advantage. He gets by the big who tried to stop the ball after the wing was beat in the backcourt. And in this situation, multiple defenders are trying to contain Luka. He picks up his dribble near the elbow, uses his eyes to force DeJounte Murray, who's guarding 2-1, to commit to the weak side corner before throwing the pass to the wing. And Tim Hardaway Jr. is left completely wide open. And Derek Lively does a great job of disrupting Sadiq Bey from getting out by using brush contact. And then the shot goes up and it's completely open. With Derek Lively setting a ball screen at half court, Luka is able to get by Bogdanovic, the big defender in this situation, and now it's up to the low defender, Jalen Johnson, to make a play at the rim. And it looks like he got Luka on the arm, but it didn't get called, so this finish just goes off the backboard, and the Hawks close the possession with the rebound. The Mavs are in the bonus, and after a missed shot, Luka gets the rebound, and Jalen Johnson commits a terrible foul reaching for the ball. This was a highly impressive and one from Luka Doncic. He secured the ball after Derek Lively got a block, attacked in transition. Trae Young tried to take a charge. Luka avoids him, sweeping the ball low, and finishes through contact with his right hand despite DeJounte Murray trying to pressure him on the trail, and he banks in the finish attempt and goes to the free throw line and makes the free throw. Tim Hardaway Jr. misses a corner three on this play. The Mavs get the offensive rebound. The ball finds Luka, and instead of forcing the shot, he uses a shot fake, forces a flyby, and then takes one dribble before making that extra pass to a wide-open Dante Exum, who hits the three and puts the Mavs up 6 with over a minute left. The Hawks pressured Luka Doncic as he's crossing half court. He has his back turned to the defender, receives a ball screen immediately from Derek Lively. Clint Capella tries to hedge. Luka splits and protects the ball by dribbling multiple times really low and gets through the crowd. And then now Jalen Johnson, the low defender, is rotated over towards the nail. And Luka picks his dribble up, uses great footwork, gets by him, and then is able to finish on the right side of the rim and draws a foul with Capella falling and making contact with him for an and one. If you watch this video all the way through, I really appreciate you doing so, and I would greatly appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel, like this video, share it with people who may be interested, and just continue to support people who create content really focusing on the nuances of the game.